inner world. The elite combat designer is oblivious to the fact that heavy attacks restore stamina and mass murder constitutes to being worthy of a bald song. How grinding players like you are faced with an impossible decision to make.
This one has all this platinum dust but doesn't know what to do with it.
One man has decided to put this mystery to an end once and for all. Critics call this endeavor flawed insanity and bulletin illusion. Now, buckle up, gouge and get ready for a solution no one has ever asked for.
August 29, 2024 marks the beginning of the largest data collection I have ever conducted. On this day I recorded the first refining data, and at this point I had no idea what monumental task I had just committed to. In the weeks and months after this, I always recorded my refines to track the amount of refining material I had gotten for every profession that allows for raw materials to be refined. In other words, I collected data for jewelry crafting, blacksmithing, clothing and woodworking. For those clicking on this video that haven't spent hundreds of hours into the Elder Scrolls Online yet, a quick summary. When collecting 10 raw materials from the world for the aforementioned professions, you can refine these materials at the respective crafting station. And what's the point? Well, aside from processed materials that can be used to craft armor, jewelry and so on, you have the chance to get upgrading materials. These upgrading materials can be used to upgrade your gear to a higher tier, with the last tier being legendary or gold. Generally, the upgrading material that you need to get the legendary tier are quite expensive, so these materials are sought after. And here is the situation. Since refining raw materials is one of the few ways to obtain these materials, raw materials have an inherent market value that's quite significant. Which poses the question, is it more profitable to just sell the raw materials, or should you refine and sell the processed materials to make the most gold possible? But since we ESO players aren't blessed with a neat database like Wowhead, we don't have access to any real statistics and probabilities regarding these drop chances, which makes it impossible to answer this question conclusively. And that's where I come into play. I have tracked the refining data of 12,568 refining processes, which translates to 125,680 raw materials refined. And the neat part, because I suffer from a serious case of insanity, all these materials have been collected myself. Aside from 9,000 rubido hide scrap, all these materials have been farmed by hand. Yeah, granted, most of these come from surveys, but still, that's 116,000 raw materials I farmed by hand. And why? Well, I don't know. I kinda just wanted to do it this way, lol. We are going through every upgrading material individually, and also at the conversion of raw materials into processed materials as far as I've been able to track it. At the end of this video, we will have an exact equation of the average drop rate of a single refine. Let's get the basics out of the way. Of course, the raw materials convert into processed materials that can be used for crafting. But the conversion isn't actually 1-to-1. So 10 raw Ancestor Silk doesn't translate to 10 Ancestor Silk. Alright, before we get into any numbers though, there is something that we have to address. All of these tests have been conducted with the champion point perk Meticulous Disassembly. All these numbers are only true if you have this champion point perk. If you're watching this after update 45 went live, then you don't have to worry about slotting it, but you will still have to spend the skill points for that. Alright, with that out of the way. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to track the conversion of all 12,568 refines. Yes, I will repeat that over and over. Because when the amount of materials I get exceed 1000, the game shortens the prompt to 1.xk, which made it impossible for me to track the exact numbers all the time. But anyway, I believe I was able to track enough to give you a precise conversion chance. Let's try to make this as entertaining and non-dry as possible.
Yeah!
Refining data!
Alright, yeah!
12,710 raw Ancestor Silk translated to 10,823 Ancestor Silk. 10,470 Platinum Dust converted to 8,885 Platinum Ounces. 6,340 Rubedite Ore got us 5,372 Rubedite Ingot. 3,250 Rubedo Hide Scraps made for 2,765 Rubedo Leather. And lastly, 7,910 Rough Ruby Ash turned into 6,699 Sanded Ruby Ash. I'm gonna skip the conversion percentage for each individual resource, but trust me, they're all very similar, so me now aggregating these numbers isn't breaking any statistics rules. Alrighty, in a total of 40,680 raw materials, we have received 34,544 processed materials, which translates to a final conversion chance of 84.9028%. There we have our very first constant. With that out of the way, let's get to the more interesting upgrading materials. Starting with the greens, across all 12,568 refines, that consists of all different raw mats, mind you, we have received 519 hemming, 595 honing stone, 513 pitch, and 529 tourney plating. Once again, aggregated, that means we got a total of 2,156 upgrading materials, which results in a final drop chance of 17.1537%. Approaching the upgrading material y'all have been coming for slowly, we switch over to the blue upgrading materials. If you're getting impatient, then I am 100% not sorry. I had to go through this weeks and month-long grind, so you will watch the video, goddammit! For embroidery, we were blessed with 468 units. Blacksmithing got us 462 dwarven oil, turpin ended up on 438, and finally iridium plating with an error 404 not found. In total, 1,772 blue upgrading materials have dropped, which in 12,568 refines concludes to a drop chance of 14.1152%, just 3% less than green materials. Alright, penultimate before we get to the golds.
Hello there.
General Dragworks.
Does it get tingly in the groin area yet? I got 283 elegant lining, 307 grain solvent, 251 mastic, and lastly, 255 circum plating, leading to an aggregated total of 1,096 purple upgrading materials and a final drop chance of 8.7103%. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. I don't know about you, but my pants button blasted away 3 minutes ago, so let's get to what you all have been waiting for. Everyone's favorite.
Here's Dragwax.
In 31,080 raw materials, we have received a total of 184 Dragwax. translating to a conversion chance of 5.9202%. As for tempering alloy, 34,410 Rubedite ore converted to 199 units, resulting in a chance of 5.7832% of conversion. Rosin, that nobody really cares for since it's so cheap, achieves a total amount of 182 out of 30,140 raw materials, concluding to a conversion chance of 6.0385%. And lastly, 30,050 platinum dust led to 173 chromium plating, or a conversion of 5.7571%. Aggregating all these legendary upgrade materials now leads to a total number of 738 gold materials, which leaves us with a final conversion chance of 5.8747%. Whew! There we have it, finally! Huh. But we're not done yet. Remember, I wanted to present you with an equation for an average for each refine. We also need to answer we also need to answer the question that was the reason for this whole endeavor to begin with. But to finish up the data evaluation, here is my Excel sheet with all the aggregated drop chances, so if you are curious, pause the video and have a look. And with that, we switch over to the equation. If your first reaction to math is something like this, then don't worry, it's very simple, really, trust me, it's very simple. This equation is important for one reason basically. I could tell you now which is more profitable, refine or sell, but since market prices change constantly, but this equation being
eternal,
you can have a constant for yourself in the future to answer this question for yourself at any point in time. Let's grab our aggregated drop chances once again here. We started with a raw to processed materials conversion of 84.9028%, which means on average, one refine will net you roughly 8.49 processed mats. As for the green stuff, you end up with 0.171537, blue means 0.141152, purple translates to 0.087103, and finally the gold constant is 0.058747. So if you want to answer the refine or sell question at any point in the future, use these factors and multiply them with the average sales data for the respective material. Let's just do this quickly for this specific moment in time. Before we get to that though, I would like to advertise for myself a little bit here. If you are kind of vibing with my humor, with my video, then maybe you would like to watch me on Twitch. I am live on Wednesday and on Sunday every 7 p.m. What the hell? We are currently playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, we're playing Enshrouded, we're playing Elden Ring, yeah, my first Souls-like, I'm bad, and of course ESO. So yeah, there's a link right here or in the description. I'm looking forward to welcome you over there, and let's get back to the conclusion. Let's have a look at clothing first. Don't get overwhelmed by this graph right here. We are just comparing the raw materials to the averages of refined materials. So in the top left you can see 10 times the raw material, because 10 times is what you need for one refine, and we are comparing that to the averages of what you can obtain from one refine. And we can see 10 raw Ancestor Silk amounts to 662.4 gold, whereas all the processed materials, averages that is, amounts to 752.08 gold, which means it is more profitable to refine Ancestor Silk. Keep in mind though, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again, these are averages as of February 21st, 2025. These prices can and will change, but fortunately we have the equation, right? So it's no big deal. Next up, we switch over to blacksmithing. 10 Rubedite ore amounts to 235.3 gold, whereas the processed materials will amount to 318.83 gold on average, which means it is also true for blacksmithing that refining is more profitable. And switching over to woodworking, which is arguably the worst that you can get, 10 rough ruby ash translate to 88 gold, whereas the refined material will amount to 109.22 gold. This is a bit of chump change, to be quite frank with you, but it's still the same. It means refining is more profitable. And last but not least, jewelry crafting has the notorious trait that it is always running out for your writs, at least for me it does. So 10 platinum dust amount to 980 gold, whereas the processed materials amount to 1314.95 gold, which means as for the other professions before this, it is more profitable to refine jewelry crafting mats. So, to conclude this, it is more profitable to refine your raw materials, pretty much through all 4 different professions that allow for raw materials to be refined. If you are now thinking, maybe I should buy raw materials and convert them by refining and then sell that to make a bit of a profit, then yeah, I guess you can do that. Keep in mind though that you will always lose 8% when selling through a guild trader, and depending on how many people are gonna watch this video, this is also probably not gonna stay true for long. Before you turn off the video, one thing I would like to say is if you like that video, I would greatly appreciate it if you could like it, maybe even subscribe if you like the content. This is a video that was my biggest project I have ever done. It took me about 100 hours, maybe even longer, from start to finish to get this all sorted, the data collection, the data evaluation, and the video itself. The video itself took like 50 hours, right? It might not seem like much, it's 17 minutes, but for me it's a lot. I worked a lot on this, right? So if you could like the video, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, you might have noticed that the trade materials are nowhere to be seen, and that's because while I have the data for that, yes, I thought that the prices for that are kinda negligible, so I didn't want to bloat the video with information that is not interesting to anybody, right? So that's why that's missing. Alright, yeah, I don't want to waste your time any longer. Please like the video. If you liked the video and made it this far, then you probably did, right? And with that, I'll leave you with, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have an awesome day. You take care of yourself, and I see you next time.